Is the master here to answer questions?
Well, we have to say the being here to answer questions. See. Does the being have anything to say with it? Say about it? Or do with it? Yes. Right. Being speaks for itself. So when we are around, let's say, an awake being or an enlightened being or some kind of creative being, yeah, what it is speaks for itself. Or a spiritual being, it speaks for itself. So it doesn't speak for itself in just the karmic sense, it speaks for itself in the transcendent sense.
Is it the intensity of desire associated with the question, what makes it valid, the importance to the individual?
Well, what makes it valid is that when any question is posed to the being, you get to hear more of the beingness itself. See? So that's what's valid about it. So no question is a stupid question in the presence of the being. The being is living from everything as one thing. So, yeah.
And is the idea to get beyond academic or casual questions into more?
Well, if you're talking about superficial levels of reality, that doesn't exist. That may be true for many people who identify with that and may be defined by superficial thought, but then they're not in touch with the being of the being. So they're not letting the being speak for itself, because if they enable themselves to be at the level of the being, then everybody would know it, and more people would be around. Yeah. We need to hear from beingness itself.
Is a question more or less a need on the part of the individual?
Well, we can say it's not a need on the part of the individual in terms of a question. It may not be a question, it may be an answer. In the form of a question that's posed to a teacher or a being, and then it will respond accordingly, because that's its purpose. It's to self-reveal the true nature of being itself.
Does the transmission from the being affect people who don't necessarily hear his response? In other words, putting that out in the universe.
It goes out to the universe because that's what it is. So it goes back to itself in every case, at every moment. But it doesn't mean the person that's undergoing, let's say, ignorance in search for enlightenment, say, or let's say self-doubt relative to its position in the universe. It doesn't mean any of that is invalid. It is valid because it's all related. So it is the darkness of light and the light of darkness, and then finally there could be something which precipitates an awakening into zero. And once that happens, the game is still the same. Everything seems to be the same, but more radical intelligence starts to show up.
So would you say then that all conditions are spiritual conditions?
From the viewpoint of spirit, there's only spirit. So you can think that out for yourself.
As someone goes through a progression, is there a limit to their questions? Do they exhaust their questions?
Who cares? I mean, the being doesn't care. The being doesn't care about anything. It's like if there is a condition called God, all it cares about is itself, because it is a total, it's everything. Not just you, not just the next person, but itself, the total. So the total is itself is the total. It's more the sum than it is just the parts. Because it has to manifest in certain parts in order for it to be a sum. At whatever level sum is perceived as such.
And so this is through that people who serve that being are serving the world, you could say?
Serving what being? Everybody is serving that being every moment in their life, see? Because you are the being, see? When you're talking about true being, I mean the being far beneath the layers of being that more or less describes the individual as an ego, a self-suffering being. Going deeper and deeper, you become more cosmically aware of what your real nature is. You're entering more light. So light is inevitable. It's not just a theory, it's inevitable because it is reality. And you're going to realize it as such, whether it's now or in any kind of shock condition or any high pressure situation, which we have to pass through because we're in the universe of pressure and release, balance.
And so the pressure is the source of the questions, the needs.
Pressure? You can call it pressure, maybe release is the source of it. Either one, the same thing. Like your evacuation system, to release the pressure, but that's what you think about it. It's nothing, and its process is, it's not a thought process. So we are a thought process, and then we are able to witness being a thought process, and being consciousness. Without some kind of awareness, there's no way you're going to apprehend having any kind of self-consciousness. So you are awareness to begin with, and then you become self-conscious, then you have to undo that in order to get back to awareness, and that's what practice is about.
And this is, would you say, unique to humans, or do animals have any of this?
I don't know, it would be fair for us to answer for anything for animals. Animals are animals, and we are that too. So we can speak for ourselves as animals, as humans, human animals, human angelic animals, if you want to call it like that. Yeah, we are part of the cosmos. We are human, let's say, nature. We are, in other words, we are the human universe. Yeah, yeah.
So would you say that, let's say, awareness is the engine that drives enlightenment?
It's not the engine, it doesn't drive anything. Awareness just is basic nature of what it is. See? Awareness is itself. Aware of itself. Like the universe is aware, it's self-aware. Awareness is self-awareness. Not just awareness. It knows itself, so it could be self-awareness.
So does that lead to us, let's say, witnessing ourselves from outside ourselves?
Or witnessing whatever it is from anywhere, right? From nowhere. So nowhere is just as viable a position as anywhere. Because it's really that kind of basic reality of the awareness giving you any perspective and every perspective possible. From any angle. Because it's every angle, so it is what it is. If you can think of it, it's already beyond that. If you come up with a thing, it's already beyond that. It's the infinite. It's the infinite of everything and nothing simultaneously.
Is awareness part of the vibratory conditions?
In what sense? Awareness is everything. So you're folding your question on. You know, it's like saying it's vibration, aware of vibrations.
So
who would there be to talk about it if it were less so the case?
So awareness is not a level of vibration, it's beyond, it embodies all vibration, let's say?
Awareness is reality. Right? Awareness is transcendent reality, beyond awareness. And then we would say awareness is realization. Awareness is reality realizing itself as nothing. And so you're happy. As a result, you're happy. As a result, there's true happiness.
So awareness and realization are, let's say, the ultimate forms?
Same thing. It's the same thing. It's basic. We have to call it the radical common sense. Okayness. Yeah, it's okayness. Goodness.
Does expanding one's awareness, let's say, hamper one's ability to fit into the material world?
No, well, your awareness is already expanded. Opening your mind to more means you input more, you process more, you have more to be aggravated by, you have more to be put upon by. But that's the idea, that's what growth is about. There will be growth, there must be growth, so growth is reality too.
And is growth the deepening of awareness?
Well, the deepening of awareness is reality. We're not going to say it's growing up or shrinking. See, so it could be, it is both. So disappearing and appearing at the same time. Right? Simultaneous, right? Appearance, disappearance. Right? The reality is infinite intelligence. Right? And that's not a known quantity exactly. So if you think it's one thing or another thing, you missed the point. You slipped off the cliff.
And these are all things we can validate for ourselves through.
You have no choice but to. Right? You have to deal with it because that's what's coming through your mind all the time. It's the light and darkness of being, the phenomena of the universe. The only resting place is how well you grasp that there is nothing as source, and nothing as source. Then you start to relax and become more peaceful. Looking out into the universe of change creates more stress because what you see out there is very, very crazy. You see matter morphing into matter, morphing into light, morphing into darkness, morphing into this, that, whatever. So you're looking at change as if change is reality. No, change is a byproduct of the reality of no change. It's part of that paradox. Change of no change. The no change of all changes.
Would you say that a realized being always relates things back to source?
We can't know what a realized being knows as such, you know, and going back to source or going back to, let's say, anything, back to no source, right? So let's say going back to no source as some kind of a recoil from ignorance. Say no source, it's nothing, zero. And then some would say that's what enlightenment is, this happy nothingness, which is perhaps what it is, right? The true heartfelt sense of the cosmic joke. And tragedy supports this. It proves it, that nothing is real. So some beings can have an awakening because a tragic thing happens, and then poof, poof. What you saw was real, who you saw was real is gone. It's poof, it's like magic. And you wonder what's up, how could that happen? Well, look at the universe, it's constant, it's moving all the time, it's happening all the time. But it pains you more when it's close to you. But the awakening is the same everywhere, throughout the universe. You need to realize you have to live and let live. You have to go and let go. You have to be and not be at the same time. Paradox, mystery.
So it would seem like a lack of awareness would create a more, an experience that the universe is happening randomly and things are happening to you randomly. But
A lack of awareness?
yes.
What does a lack of awareness mean? You're stupid?
Well,
Maybe you're brilliant with a lack of awareness.
and maybe you don't see the source of everything that's happening to you.
Maybe you can't afford to see the source of everything that's happening to you. Maybe it's too frightening. Maybe it's too humorous. Maybe it'll kill you to know anything. and it is. Comment.
Both too frightening and too humorous simultaneously.
Exactly. Yeah. For some people, yeah, it's too much.
And yet, without that awareness, how do you find, let's say, your place?
Well, your place is no place, so you don't have to worry about being anywhere. You're in the great no place. I know it sounds ridiculous, because it is. Ridiculousness. It's absurd. But you have to see it for what it is. Where are you? Are you in your place or no place? You see, as soon as you start thinking about it, you enter the joke. You start to see what it is. It's like, well, what do I know? What is there to know? See? And this is again going down the path of paradox as key to it. In all the traditions, it's not just like a certain kind of joke. Yeah, it's a different kind of joke. It's like the joke of tragedy. You see what didn't belong to you, because if it belonged to you in the way that you'd like it to belong to you, you still have it. It would still be there. In other words, if you wrote the script, you would want everything to stay the way it was forever. Let's say that's where the joke comes in there. It can't be that way. It isn't that way, because then you don't understand the nature of the universe relative to its I guess you might say, agreement to being time ruled by time patterns, time cycles, time zones, time dimensions. So, which is the fact of it. So you need to operate from the fact as well as the transcendence of it.
From what you're saying, I recognize how so many enlightened beings can seem like madmen to people.
Well, it's not that they're mad in, let's say, clinical sense, particularly. But they're divinely mad in that they have a sense of humor that is unique to itself. Everything can be funny. It doesn't mean you're without pain or you're without suffering. It means that everything you know can be used as wood for the fire of realization, as it should be. And that's a born potential. Not necessarily everyone's destiny, but it's certainly born potential. But not everyone, as I was saying earlier, like some of the musicians I know say, Tisziji, you this way? And I say, yeah, I'm this way. And they say, well, we don't want to be that advanced because we don't want to give up that much. So then they don't want to know. So it's not about being advanced. You either know or you don't know. And if you're going to realize something, in a sense, in terms of cosmic super intelligence or super consciousness, then you have to give up everything. And that's obvious. Because it is everything. And everything belongs to it. It doesn't belong to anyone. We are the everything.
And so would you say we are on a cycle of life and death until we make such realizations?
We're just here. We're just here. And dealing with what comes, in terms of every next call, next letter, next person knocking at the door, the next moment, it's already filled up. It's already filled up. It's always happening, and everything is next, in a sense. Come what may, everything is next.